We did have conversation with, I believe, Eric, while in Singapore. So I'm curious about if any of that history has impacted his decisions on what he built in or is including in his ULTI products. So with that, I'm going to say, again, feel free to ask questions in YouTube. Just understand that I will not have it be public in a couple of days. It'll be unlisted as far as the content, but the Twitter or X platform content will be here in full. And yeah, we can go from there. Again, disrespectful language, anything along those lines on my Twitter, as always, I'm going to block you or I'm going to ban you. Just, I'm not going to put up with, troll accounts going forward in 2025, especially. Anyway, with nothing else to say on the beginning, let's launch into introduction with Steph. Hey, Steph, how's it going? Oh, I can hear, but I don't know if I can hear you. Let everyone know.
I don't know.
There you are. Yeah, I think there's a little delay, but I think I do hear you fine. Go ahead and say something.
I was muted. No, perfect.
Excellent. Yeah, so I do have some questions, and of course, the first thing on any kind of like reveal or conversation between two people, especially in social media content, is always the background. It's always like, where have you been? What have you been up to? What's your experience and things like that. And I think that the first time that you and I met might have been 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, many years ago in person. But I had known you through social media content and different streams and things like that since at least 2019. Can you give a little bit of a background of where you started in, again, kind of shortened because we see this content frequently about like where have you been, but can you give a little bit of an introduction of who you are and where you were before crypto came into your life?
Yeah, I will keep it short, not to bore too many people, but I'm a software engineer by training, specialized in AI and robotics, studied in Germany for my first year of master, second year of master in Southampton, UK. So yeah, since university, basically traveling a lot already in Europe, after around the world. My first job was in application of AI for HP in their AI division, and I stayed there 1 year in London, and then I joined Google right after because it was 2012, 13. I was really passionate about the company, the leadership, the kind of products they were putting to market, very consumer focused. A lot of change in the past 10 years. So I've now, after staying at Google for 8 years in the UK, in San Francisco, in New York, I decided to leave the company. It was mostly for a lot of like political things and activism that were happening in the company. And it was combined with COVID, combined with crypto going up. So a lot of things in my life changed at the same time. And yeah, I decided to quit in 2020, and I don't regret. Because for the irony of the situation is I'm barely using Google search today because the advance of AI and a lot of competition are seemingly are replacing slowly the incumbent.
So it's interesting when someone has an analytical or logic-driven mind, like I believe you do, organizing thoughts and things like that, coming up with a thesis about how this world operates. You were originally being educated in technology and basically, structure different languages and programming and things like that. But why did you choose to work for Google? Like, how were you discovered, or how did you make a determination to put your career in that direction? For search engines, and I guess the origin of Google was well before 2012. But why was it something that you wanted to put some part of your career toward?
So when even before finishing uni, I thought that that was kind of the prime time just to build software. Everybody's like 2010, 11, 12. It was booming all over the place in the world, and so I knew that maybe a bit luckily, but just by interest, I just ended up in a good field. Engineering fields are generally very good, but software engineering just was the one that was really praised at the time. So I always wanted to build something that had a societal impact. So I was not interested in anything related to like business to business, software, SaaS. I've never been very excited about that. So if there was something for a company or something for governments, I was never been very leaning towards this type of products. That's why I think I look on the marketplaces as a software engineer. There's not that many companies in the world that the brand, the cachet, the reputation of Google to produce not one, but dozens of products used by billions of users in the world. So if you want to have like impact in the world, you join the bigger chip. And that was my thesis early on. I was very young, maybe 22, 23. I was like, okay, if I want to do something really cool and use my skills to impact the world, I better join the A team in the game.
That's an interesting thesis. I think I'll come back to that topic in maybe a little bit. But so you originally were hired as I guess, a general engineer. I don't know if it was a specific task or something you were filling originally on a hire.
I started as like sales engineer, so already because of my language skills and a bit of business acumen, I was thrown in the field, just working with a bunch of customers all around EMEA, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa, to deliver advertising solutions. I started working on hotel advertisements and map advertisements early on for the first few years, and then I moved on from the business side to go to the product side when being transferred to California.
It's interesting. So how many years total were you with Google?
8 years, yeah.
During the course of 8 years, I think I'd heard when I first came across your content, crypto discovery and things like that, as far as my own discovery, my own journey.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing something along the lines of you were in charge of privacy and security, maybe for Google. Can you cover that a little bit?
Yes. So when I left London, I moved to California. I think I was very exciting and maybe ahead of time because it was 2015, and already at that time the scandal of Cambridge Analytica and the collection, mass collection, and the sentiment towards big tech company had not shifted yet, being negative. It was still like the euphoria of like, hey, all this data collection gives us like amazing services, and privacy was an afterthought. Even in 2015, I remember the vibe then. And I joined at that time, head of the market. I decided just to join something, to use my skills to do something good at large and do good at large. And because of the weight of the company, I thought there would not be anything more interesting that be the guardians of user data within the company. So I had being very young, I had a very senior role in the sense that I could veto any advertising launches within Google across search, maps, 90% of the revenue. Obviously, I did not use that veto too often because it would have been escalated to VP or CEO level. But I was very fortunate just by being transferred internally, just to be exposed to very strategic role within the company, touching like at the intersection of business, engineering, product, policy, privacy, marketing. I was on a weekly basis meeting with like 50 plus product managers within Google, as they would come to me presenting even 3 months before the entire company wouldn't even know about the feature. Why is that building it? What are they collecting? Why is it safe? And we would have a conversation about what are the business goals and how can they be reconciled with obligation with regard to user privacy. It was also a great timing because GDPR, I think, the largest privacy framework created by the European Union, was not there at the time. It got released 2018, 2019. And so during that period, I was engaged in very strategic internal strategic project to make sure that Google was just rehauling the entire infrastructure, like technical infrastructure, to make sure that all our products, when they're connecting data between different data sets, they would just be compliant with European law, which is the de facto the gold standard for data in the world. If not pushed by the European Union, it's often the joke in the industry, like the EU is good at making norms and policies, and the US are good at innovating. So you have that tension. So it was really interesting period for me there, focusing on data. Understanding of the data at large scale, I think, changed my life. I was a technologist, but now I saw the world we live in into pipe interconnections more than ever. And there's a lot of implication in finance, privacy and the flow of data from systems, from users, have a huge implication in finance.
Yeah, it's an odd time. Again, I'm of a generation before you, so I remember when information that was collected was because you had to fill out a postcard, and the postcard might have your mailing address or your name or something like that. But basically, information aggregation wasn't what it is today. You see, like I said, the GDPR, is that what's called? GDPR, is that correct?
GDPR, yes, it's I forgot even the acronym. It's the General Privacy Regulation or something like that. And the main idea of GDPR is create like a very comprehensive framework in terms of the power that have been accumulated by all these big tech companies and actually all players in the space. In future and existing data collector to make sure that there's proper disclosures, increasing the level of right, basically, across the board, the level of right that users have. So from from control, data transfer. Let's say you have some data collected by Google, and you want to transfer out. Can you take away, as a package, all the data that you've been personal data that you put in a package? So all of these major companies, it's less the case for the long tail of companies because it takes a huge amount of effort to be actually very compliant with GDPR. But with the largest platform, when you shut down your account, they give you the option to take away your data. That's an example. So the European Unions have just reviewed the entire life cycle of the data, from data collection to disclosure, data collection, processing, sharing within a business unit, across business unit, across businesses, across countries. And there are a lot of rules and policies towards making that very streamlined and protecting users. Right? It's an upgrade because the world of IT exploded from the early to 2000 to within 20 years, things have exploded so much, and regulators always playing catch up. And so they came with some may consider in the industry as a big hammer, but I think it was just it was good that it was happening because it was just shifting power back to the end of the user in the end. Not most companies in the world are actually not fully compliant with such regulation. The American process is more and more aligning with GDPR because the European have made the work. They did the auditing. Across it's like 27 countries coming together across 450 million people. So they did a comprehensive work and not to disrupt American businesses. Say, well, let's try to embrace softly the European model because they did the work. So that's for GDPR. It's been a long time. I've been looking into the evolution of the framework because it's what happens with regulators. They got job almost for life, and they do version 1, version 2, version 3. They rarely deprecate or expire their previous version, and you got these administrative layers stacking on top of each other.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And again, some people are making comments that everything should be on the cloud. You shouldn't need anything physical as long as it's secured. And what does security mean? Can third party be utilized to sell your data to other companies? What is invasive? What versus what is allowing a person to function in a modern world? Like you, like myself, travel quite a bit. And every time that I try to log into a bank account or check something for my credit card or something along those lines, it says, hey, you're in a different country. You have to go through this whole gateway process to have access to that website or something along those lines. So like on one side, my convenience mind says, let's make it easier on me to do transactions and things like that in a banking world or in a finance world. Whereas on the other side, is more like a prepper mentality. It's like, okay, well, I need to control everything that I own and hoard it or store it up versus allow others to utilize it in some way. So it's interesting. Again, you have you're an interesting person in that you had a curious mind that took you down the path of being a technologist. And then as a technologist, you worked for one of the biggest companies in the world, focused for 8 years and eventually became someone in charge of privacy and security, basically for a large swath of the world, right? And in Europe, and I think you said Middle East and Africa, possibly. I think that that's an interesting experience, because to me that feeds where you go next, what you decided to build out. Currently we're going to talk about ULTI in a moment. So can you?
There was just one last step before I left the US. So I was 3 years in California, then 2 years in New York until the pandemic hit. But my last experience is like, if you look through my career, I went from more businessy type of roles, even using technology, to more product or program management type of roles. And my last role was really product focused, building an application, reading app for kids within the elite incubator at Google called, at the time it was called Area 120. They shut it down there. So I was selected amongst hundreds of thousands of Googlers because it's a very large company. So we are 200 selected just to build product innovation within the company. So, within the top minds of the world working at Google, I was actually selected just to quit my job and do something a bit more innovative, more risky. For 2 years, it was very successful. During pandemic, we built a reading app for kids, right, age 4 to 7, and you can imagine. Then when pandemic hits and all of the kids are back at home, there's a huge demand. Just I've been very lucky in my career. Like every time where I go, it's like almost I get pushed into what's gonna boom just a few months or a few years just ahead of time. So we are very successful, and that was the nail on the coffin for me in the company, because I think within a year and a half, the application got downloaded 25 million times. Families around. We are a team of 10, just to give you some sense. A team of 10, very, very smart people. I love these colleagues, former colleagues, most of them back in New York. And we built an app that got downloaded throughout the world by 25 million times. And we had about 3 to 4 at the top, 3 to 4 million active users daily. So that was, I think, a huge success. Timing was right, and that experience gave me a sense of what you can do with very, very few talented people in terms of resources. Very few people that all put the energy and mind towards delivering value to users. When you're at the edge, when you just combine just new technology with a demand. So yeah, that was my last experience, very product experience at the end. Just to give you a sense, like I was doing a bit of everything though. So product, program management, deal licensing. Some of the books we are creating ourselves. Some of them we were just licensing to the market, depending on the country, translating them, hiring a team of translators just to get the book in Spanish and other languages. That was an amazing experience, and the type of messages we had on the daily basis, and I will always remember that like times 1,000. I'm just gonna give you one example. As a little girl in Brazil, her mom is writing back to us on the Play Store or App Store review saying, my daughter was bullied at school because she was stuttering. And first few months she would not even want to speak in the classroom. Since she used Rivet, that was the name of the app, she's now reading 4 books every night, and she regained her confidence. So when you're a team of 10 people based in Manhattan, New York, in Chelsea, and what was Virgin a year ago transformed in new experiences across the world, and impactfully changes probably the course of the academic course of millions of kids. There's nothing more satisfying. I really enjoyed that time. I was really sad that the management decided to shut down the app for internal political reason, and at the back of that, half of the team decided to leave Google.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really, even though it's the field of technology, it's different applications that you've worked on or developed, different scale of teams and purposes, basically for the different sections of a larger company like Google, and with this education app and history. That's what I really appreciate is people that they have They have ability. You weren't really adapting. You're really just focusing your skill set on something new, right? And that's the way I think of as crypto in general. Is it is protocol. These are protocols that are developed, but having a broader experience is important in my opinion. I see that you over the years have been very good about engaging with venture capitalists, with people from different walks of life. You actually represent products that you develop in person. So I respect a lot that people have a broad vocabulary and a broad experience underneath that umbrella, and that's something that, again, a testament to you as a person. I appreciate that you share that with people. Let me move a little bit. I'm going to move to the history as far as let's move to specifically crypto. Like we've talked about Google and we've talked about education companies and different applications you developed in different companies. Why crypto, and when did that enter your life? What was your original thought process about what crypto is or was, and what it's morphed into today?
I think the one liner here, or even the one word that would summarize everything, is freedom. And again, it has to do with convergence of events. My own self-development, as a man in this world. When COVID happened, the level of restriction that I was seeing happening around the world, me coming back to France, seeing the authoritarian tendencies of what maybe some leader that I used to respect, just taught me that when fear and max fear is around, you better have something that you own by yourself, right? It's like owning your body, owning your money, owning your place, producing your food, producing your energy becomes even more important in times of crisis. I think that moment, 2020, for me, early, very marking moment for me, because I was uneasy with the reaction of most global leaders. So crypto is just a tool. Crypto is a cryptographic tools where you decentralize power in the hands of thousands, tens of thousands of nodes that are producing record of information of what has been happening throughout the world. So yeah, crypto was a natural fit for me because I'm a technologist, work in privacy security. So it has been with me since I think more than 10 years ago. I first got introduced in 2014 to it. And at the time where I leave the company because I'm pissed about not being able to realize the vision and the delivery of some goods we were bringing to the world. When you have some bureaucracy that comes down and just shut your project down, and then you have the government that comes in and say, no, you cannot move from your place and you need to inject that in your body. It's like successive, during a few months, successive amount of power are coming to me, basically saying, you cannot do that, you cannot do this, you need to shut down, you should not move. And there's no, given my personality, there's no way around me not being involved in crypto at that time. I was softly involved since 2014, kind of a side investor, but that was the perfect time. I had experience in building product, I experience in building product at scale, more experience in the market itself, which I didn't have before. I was free. I left Google, so I had more time, I had resources, and so I decided to use my skills to foster an ecosystem that is aligned with my values.
Excellent. So in my experience, and again, just quickly, is only since 2019. I know that you were involved well before that. And I didn't think about Ethereum. I didn't think about Litecoin. I didn't think about Cardano or other things that were being talked about a lot in 2019. Actually, 17. I guess 17 was my first experience. I heard about Bitcoin, and what I heard about Bitcoin's strength was that it was immutable, that it was AKA digital gold, things like that, as far as a narrative, as far as store of value and all these things like that were being talked about in 2017. Again, my first experience in anything related to crypto or blockchain narratives. I think, again, people that have curiosity about your new project that you're soon to release. We'll talk about that. But today is not about going through the white paper, going through the description and things like that, really. I think that Silver the Antidote did an excellent job. I watched a lot of his content, basically in review of your white paper. And if anybody has interest in seeing that, you should check out his channel. Let me see if I got I think I have a banner up here. Yeah. So you can see his YouTube channel, follow him on YouTube. I think he's got a 3 or 4 or 5 part series, Q&A kinds of things. He has an X account as well. So on X, if you're able to, then you can engage him there. I think he does a pretty good walkthrough in addition to what you already provide on other channels. So again, today isn't really about the white paper. I really just want to know the philosophy of why produce a protocol that values, I believe the protocol of ULTI values Ethereum. You know, Ethereum is a different blockchain than a lot of the community that you and I know. You know, there's a different L1s that are available out there. Pulse Chain is one, Ethereum, Cardano, what else? Bitcoin itself. Like there's a lot of different L1s out there, and they have different narratives about why they would be valuable as an infrastructure or underpinnings for other protocols to live upon. So ULTI, as far as I understand, is a new protocol, and that new protocol has different systems, different game theories that, you know, from your experience on other product development, you know, referral systems and things like that, that will very likely captivate the speculative mind. These are speculative instruments and people will speculate. So my question is really about Ethereum and the direction that you think Ethereum has. You and I both attended 2049. You saw Vitalik speak and others that were engaged in building products upon Ethereum. So can you talk about, you know, 2024 is right now. We're in a market cycle. What is your long-term view of the value narrative of Ethereum itself?
Yes, so all these blockchains and network, they are tools again. For me, they are those technologies and the combination of technologies, finance and communities, but the bare bone aspect of it are just people running code, running servers that are storing replicate version of the blockchain, right? This is just a decentralized infrastructure for storing some level of consensus on some data. The longer a blockchain has been around, the more trusted it can be. The more value is held onto a blockchain, the more trusted it can be. That's the aggregate of the market telling you, I'm putting my money here. And if the blockchain goes down, I'm willing to lose anything. So the largest TVL, total locked value or deposited value on the blockchain, tells you where the market feels that their funds are the most at risk. The blockchain, all of these blockchains are very experimental. We're really at the frontier of the future of finance. There is level of risk into venturing in the new blockchain, right? The more you go down the list in terms of like how long that blockchain has been around, how much total lock value is there, what is the level of adoption, what are the on-ramps, the ease of coming with some fiat, some money, some cash to get the asset of the blockchain. Can you do it in 1 click, 2 clicks, 3 clicks, 4 clicks, 10 clicks? How long does it take? 1 hour, 10 hours? All of these things are parameters that you need to consider when you want to launch a protocol. Say, well, I'm launching something immutable. I call it pure DeFi. I coined the term. Nobody used that, and there's a reason why everybody has control. I said, this is I had enough with the promise of crypto is freedom. I don't want to rely on any middleman to, with significance, influence the future of my wealth, the assets. So moving forward, I will only be investing in protocols that respect the user and the values of freedom and crypto. So Ethereum, I think, hit most of the boxes. It's been around for more than 7 years. It has the largest TVL in the world. Bitcoin is a different beast because you cannot do much with it. It has a thriving ecosystem, the most support, all of the builders, nearly all of the builders are there. All the blockchains are emerging right now. For 90% of them, they're using the EVM, which is the Ethereum virtual machine, which is Ethereum technology, and they try to, as much as possible, align with the vision of Ethereum. Right. So for me, this is not so much personal matter. It's just about a couple of criteria that I'm using, and I weight them against others to say, well, if I'm launching something that is meant to hold value for years, decades, I'm going where it's the safest for my users, where most liquidity could come to my protocol, where the ecosystem is the most welcoming for builders. It's Ethereum. Solana is an interesting play, a bit more experimental. The blockchain has been halted a few times in the past couple of years. So for me, it's a risk I'm not willing to take.
Yeah, I've heard about migration. Again, with your Google experience, I started with AOL search, AOL and Alta Vista and Yahoo. These were ways to find information on the internet until basically Google was much easier and faster and had all these different tools and much simpler, honestly, as far as like what was blasted at you the moment that you loaded the page. So the simplicity of the tool made it also a better experience. So it's kind of, to me, it seems like you're making commentary about which blockchains have on-ramps, off-ramps, have liquidity. These are things that we have heard. These are not new ideas. These are things that, even someone like Richard Hart has commented about. You can go to Kick, you can go to Twitch, you can go to different platforms to get your message out there, but where are the people? It happened to be YouTube. So YouTube's still dominant in the space of publishing your content. So I think of it in a similar vein when you're talking about what TVL at the moment, and what you're talking about TVL that it has as far as Ethereum, and that seems to be one of the reasons, or the major reason why you're launching on Ethereum specifically. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's TVL, Lindy effect, number of users, potential for future growth, overall builder ecosystem. There are smaller chains that exist in the space. I think the audience here is very familiar with Polchain. You may have heard of Arbitrum, Base. Some of them, if you just look at adoption potential, there is one out of the three I just mentioned that is order of magnitude prone to be adopted by the masses. That one is Base. All right, so if you just make a bet on like liquidity is going to come through a specific chain, I would make a bet on Base, right? If I just gave an example of three blockchains that are somewhat using the virtual machine and Ethereum technology. They are cheaper, faster. There's one, and if you're just looking for adoption potential, this is the largest one, just because there's more than 120 million accounts on the Coinbase exchange, right? So they're gonna be promoting any advent of a significant bull run. You can expect conversion, even if it's 5 or 10% that are going on chain. We're talking about maybe 10 million, like 20 million of people coming on chain, and they will be on Base. They won't be on Arbitrum. They won't be on, I don't know, Polygon. They will be on Base. So this is very important when you make choices. You need to be really detached emotionally from the situation and remove the biases that you have because you hold certain tokens. Because if you have biases on the token you hold, you're a Bitcoiner, you still have Bitcoin, and you haven't moved on learning where the technology goes. And we've seen that in the past. Some people they came in 2017, maybe. They bought Bitcoin at 20K. 7 years later, they are 3x above their investment. There's millions of people like that came in 2017 and they are 3x. Why? Because they have been fed the narrative that this is the alpha and the omega, and that technology never evolves. What fool would believe that technology never evolves? So you need to be on the space is evolving very quickly. On a monthly basis, there's new innovation. We were talking about privacy. more and more privacy solutions are coming on chain. It's very, very nascent, but I think this is the next stage of networks is having optional privacy. So that's where I would want to build, right? If today I had a choice, what are the things I would want from a blockchain? It's like, well, you have privacy option by default, the level of distribution of the nodes in the world, and in terms of wealth, if the staking blockchain is sound enough, and the potential for adoption is higher than all the competitors.
So this goes to a kind of a question, I guess, that's at the heart of things. Is I've seen many of your tweets over the past months, specifically saying something. I think the hashtag might have been like pure DeFi. Is that what you've been saying? Is it true DeFi or pure DeFi?
Pure DeFi, yes.
Pure DeFi. Can you clarify in your mind as a technologist what you think of as pure DeFi? What does that mean to you, and how has that impacted the design of ULTI?
Yeah, I mean, simple. It was just an idea. So DeFi means, for people that don't know, decentralized finance. So by decentralized finance, the first part is decentralized. So you assume that. So what we mean by decentralization, is the ability for you to your funds cannot be censored, right? You are permissionless. The permissionless aspect of the interaction with the blockchain is such that if you want to transfer $1 or $1 billion from one address to another address, no one in the world can tell otherwise. It comes back to the idea of freedom I was mentioning earlier. So this is pure DeFi. Pure DeFi for me, there's like the idea that on the smart contract platform, you can be very creative and create this financial game, so to speak, or protocols. They can have many names, where users exchange value. Historically, and often they come with a token. I think the best example of pure DeFi I can come up with is Uniswap. Uniswap V1 and V2. There was no fees, no founder allocation, no VCs. It was just a piece of code, no even token. The purest of the purest you could do. The Aidan Adams, the founder of Uniswap, created a piece of code, put it on the blockchain. It was such a step function before what existed before that in a matter of like 18 months, it gathered billions of dollars of trading volume competing with the centralized exchange. So we have actually a very important use case in a sense with Uniswap, because the market more and more, and we see if you look at volume exchange on chain versus in centralized platform, year after year, the on-chain volume data is gaining momentum over the centralized exchange. It tells you that the market wants something that cannot be shut down. That works 24/7. That works regardless of the country where you are. That works if there's no KYC. That's what the market wants. Anyone in the world, if you tell them you have like a freer solution without permission, or you have like the jail, which one do you want to go for? So that's what's happening with pure DeFi. This is just a piece of code that is put out there in the wild. There's no admin, no VCs. There's no early economic incentive that will play against any participant. No ICO, right? No pre-allocation. The founder don't matter that much. When you think about Uniswap V1, Uniswap V2, you may not like what Aidan Adams does with his life. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the code. I never heard someone say, well, I didn't like this tweet or the fact that Uniswap created a token after Uniswap V2, so I'm not going to engage with the protocol. It doesn't matter. You're just here for a function, exchanging token A versus token B. So yeah, we've seen many protocols and tokens coming in the thousands, in the hundreds, in the millions over the years, and most people, at the token or protocol level, don't align with the core value of crypto. So that's why I use this term pure crypto, because pure DeFi, because I don't matter. Once the code is out there, I really don't matter. The code will be open source, public. Anyone, even if the front end doesn't work, you can use Etherscan. Someone can read the code and build up their own interface for it. That's pure DeFi. You're not expecting someone to do something. The contract itself is paying for marketing. It's built in. And I go above and beyond. I have so much trust in what I'm building that I'm seeding the project with some of my own money. So early on, it's going to be in the order of like hundreds of thousands, but for the first year, my commitment is to go towards the $1 million. This is unique. I haven't heard any other founder doing that in the world.
Yeah, I want to get to that specifically in just a moment. You know, both your participation, you know, basically like as you're describing what is pure DeFi, what is founder allocation, C-suite, marketing allocation, things like that. You know, again, I think that Silver, the Antidote, covered your white paper very well. I think that a lot of the content you've been putting out there, especially when we have conversation in real time, you can answer those kinds of things. So people that have questions specifically about ULTI, you know, something that may not be covered inside this stream, they should follow you on your Twitter account. Or maybe on the ULTI account. I don't know. Is it 0x Steph that you prefer, or do you prefer people engage with the ULTI account?
If it's directly related to ULTI, just go there, because that's going to be like a place when you can have a public conversation, and X is the new town hall, right? So I prefer the energy and mindshare to be focused on one platform rather than being spread across Discord, Telegram, Slack, TikTok. Yeah, it feels to me that X is the place where you want all the energy being focused on. It helps with safety, security, virality, than having people in the shadows in more or less obscure rooms that you cannot link to easily. So the advantage of X compared to Telegram, as an example. If someone create a message in Telegram, right, you cannot hyperlink the message directly. You need to go to the room, and this is the advantage of X is every pieces of content or replies or post is a link by itself, right? So the potential for virality of X is order of magnitude higher than Telegram, and there's no reason to be in 10 places if you can be in one. Most of the important conversation, whether it's in crypto, whether it's in politics, whether they're happening on X. And so I would prefer, I mean, people do whatever they want, but I got a couple of like pre-registered group for the ULTI on the Telegram, but I would prefer most of the energy to be on X. So that's why I'm not advertising anything over there.
Yeah, I think that it's important to have your real estate, your digital real estate on different platforms at least held, even if you're not going to engage it, so that people know, yes, hey, this is the Telegram room, but I'm not utilizing it. It's not, you know, like even you can limit, you know, who can participate as far as make commentary and things like that. But I'm a big proponent of people reserving their digital brand on different platforms. And like you said, you're directing mostly to the X platform as a source of information. Those are important. So let me make a comment or two about front ends. This has been the frustrating part about cryptocurrency in my experience with different founders, is that the front end can change. The front end, like you said, you can say something like, you know, whether it's an NFT project or whether it's a new protocol, whether it's one blockchain or another, the front end always has some level of vulnerability to it. You commented about Hayden and the V1, V2, you know, V1 migrating to V2 and all that process when people were moving their liquidity around. Now I think there is even a V4 option, but the front end has always been something that that at least makes me a little bit apprehensive. You can see that there is liquidity, I believe, for Hex on V2 on the Ethereum blockchain using Uniswap, but I don't know of a way that people can either add or remove liquidity without doing some kind of, like you said, Etherscan, you know, direct coding or some other person volunteering to provide a front end. Those issues make me apprehensive about what is pure DeFi. what is a protocol that can live on its own, regardless of a founder or a large volume holder volunteering to allow other audience to participate. Can you comment a little bit about front end risk versus always available on the chain engagement? Anything along those lines, especially if you've addressed it with ULTI?
Yes. So in the current state of things, there are ways to have decentralized, because we have decentralized network these days, and we can manage consensus. There are tools to decentralize resources like images, video. A website is just static piece of information, right? It's the code, the text, the JavaScript, the HTML, a couple of picture images. The way the web works today is when you're visiting a website, basically you're pointing to a specific URL that is asking a server to serve some content. So you're asking a centralized entity to give you some content. They can change the code at any point in time. Bugs could be introduced. New features can be introduced. In the case of Uniswap that you're mentioning, there have been historically very poor guardians of the crypto values. They have been actively suppressing and gatekeeping some tokens without legitimate reasons, without being asked to do so. So there are people that even before being asked to shut down something by even the regulators, that could be a legitimate reason for doing something. Nobody wants to go to jail or be paying a fine. They were actively gatekeeping X and other projects. So it is fair to say that the level of trust you can have with the Uniswap front end and people working on Uniswap, it's not all rosy and clean. But at the same time, they have so much value. So you need to not only need to look at what you own as tokens, but what is the overall net value of this team? They're based in New York, and what they brought to the market. And their net, one of the largest contributor of growth in the decentralized finance world. So even though I don't disagree with some of their action at the margin, they're not representative of the values they bring to the world. And people tend to forget that because they have bias, because of the bias of the bags they hold. Uniswap is a formidable, technical, innovative team with overall great values. And I think, in my opinion, they made a couple of mistakes in the past in terms of being true to the ethics of crypto. But who hasn't made mistake in the past?
Yeah, the path of gold in the vault that has been vaulted, that has a claim or a check against it, and says Peter Schiff is famous for his rhetoric on gold, on it having value for 5,000 years, and the immutability and things like that, right? As far as what the narrative is, gold is money. But then also he does promote that you should be able to use a debit card to effectively move your gold from one shelf in a vault to a different shelf, a different owner in a vault. I don't believe that represents really what gold is. And similarly, when it comes to cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin that is held in a trust, maybe a grayscale, and you have a derivative or you have some kind of share. You have the idea of as trustworthy, that it's not in your custody, that you basically have a claim check. I don't like those things. That's not the narrative that I got involved with cryptocurrency for. So I know that you're very security minded, very privacy minded. I know that your interest in cryptocurrency is above and beyond ROI on, skill set or something along those lines to work or build out something. So can you comment a bit about again, there's narratives out there that Solana goes down. There's narratives out there that Base is controlled, by U.S. government because of USDC admin keys and things like that, or shareholders. The interest of shareholders in the company of Coinbase versus the participants using it as a central exchange for exchanging cryptocurrencies. So there are things that are counter to each other in those narratives. Can you make a comment about why you think that Ethereum is the best infrastructure at the moment to launch ULTI? And again, the narrative around, does does it have as many admin restrictions as some think? Like, can you comment more about why Ethereum?
Sure. So I look at the past 7 years. I look at where is the place that has been accumulating a large amount of technologies, building stuff, platform. Like I'm thinking about this world of blockchains, this network as infrastructure for marketplace for decentralized apps, the protocols that I'm building. Question as a builder is, do I build for iOS or do I build for Android? At the end of the day, I don't care. I build for users. So this debate of where things should go, it matters at the margin. ULTI is designed for everyone. It starts with Ethereum just because it's the most solid smart contract platform in the world. The data is not controversial. The money is there, the liquidity is there, the security is there, the on-ramp is there. Nowhere else there's that much consensus. So for me, that's fairly simple. There's no reason why I would want to build somewhere in a little island used by no one, by 5 or 10,000 accounts that I don't have money, because I want the success of my product. I want some success for my protocol, so I would go where the people are. And the money currently is on the more broadly in smart contract platform where Ethereum is. Solana is doing really well. Different market segments. But the main issue with Solana is not too long ago. I mean, it's been a bit more than a year now, but they halted the blockchain. This is not acceptable. Ethereum, as long as I've been using it, has been running smoothly, even though they changed the network from the old network, proof of work to proof of stake, while being live. It was a seamless event, and that tells you the quality of the people involved, because there's not too many. That was the first. There's not too many networks in the world that managed in the decentralized fashion that managed to do such transition. I think the level of complexity was out of this world, and it took them 2 years of testing and having that what they called at the time the beacon chain, which is now the network that everybody is using, to prove that it was reliable enough to move from proof of work to proof of stake. So when I say this is where things are happening, is that there is ample evidence, countless evidence, that the quality of engineering is there, the mindshare is there. Ethereum is under pressure, like any system. There's this balance between what is immutable. We discussed that in a previous interview. What's immutable and what needs to evolve. And the strategy currently in the Ethereum roadmap is to offload a bit of the innovation in sister chains called layer 2s that will offload some of the state back, do some level of checkpointing back to Ethereum. So people have guarantee that what they did on chain is valid. So we're seeing slowly that narrative being realized. So from the vision to the execution takes a bit of time. But what I see with Base, Optimism, WorldCoin, even I'm not a big fan of the project at all for privacy reason. Unichain more recently, they're all building layer 2s in the super chain ecosystem that has been pioneered by Optimism. So I can see the Cosmos, basically, for people that really know about blockchains, the Cosmos community have been hammering that point for a few years already. It's like the future is going to be app chains or collection of app chains that are communicating between each other with specific standards, so that we don't have this issue with bridges and all of the things that we've seen over the years. So this is happening on Ethereum. I invite you to watch the recent podcast of Aidan Adams that just released a Unichain on the Bankless podcast. It's very interesting to see that happening. The current limitation for layer 2s like Optimism, Base, or Unichain is right now the node validating the transaction. It's called a sequencer technically. It's a multi-sig owned by just a few parties, most of them in the US. So this is a weak point. Aidan just alluded to the fact that they should be releasing a shared sequencer within a year or so. So I'm really excited. If Bayes and Optimism and Unichain manage to have like digitalization at the layer 2 level, which I've been waiting for, this is where the future is going. Given the amount of capital in talents and brain power thrown at the issue, there's no question in my mind that 2025, 2026 is going to be we're going to reach the end game where all transaction on chain will be fast, cheap, decentralized.
Yeah, for at least a few years, the commentary from a lot of people in the space has been multi-chain, even if they have a horse in the race, so to speak, even if there may be a maximalist of a particular chain. You had said something about Cosmos, I think. I only am familiar with Thorchain, and basically, like you said, alleviating the bridge issues of bridging from one chain to another chain versus running multiple nodes or of different chains at the same time. So yeah, it's interesting to see the innovation, and again, liquidity, being able to move from one. We talked about this in 2019 about like what is seamless experience. Should your grandmother or someone that's new to this technology need to know all of the workings of how a light bulb turns on? They just want the light bulb to turn on. Like they don't need to know how the electrons and the metallurgy and vacuums and things like that facilitate a conventional light bulb from operating. So I think it's interesting, like you said, the multi-chain narrative, and then the number of technologists that you and I both encountered in Singapore. This was advertised as 20,000 people attended over the course of 2 or 3 days. I know that there were 200 or 300 side events, a lot of different side events that you attended as well. And, there is a lot of interest in the space, and it's not as maximalist as many people that are only viewed through YouTube content may perceive. I think that there's a lot more, common direction between these different technologies. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't do too much conferences in general because I'm heavy, well-organized user of online medias, and I try to, as much as people, not find myself in a bubble. So I never use the default algorithm for my content. I've got multiple on X. You can set multiple lists, and I choose what I watch. I'm subscribing to the content I want to watch. I don't trust the algorithm. I trust myself. At the margin, I may encounter. I may look at the feed, the more common feed sometimes to see if I'm not missing out on a few things. But I trust that with my current setup, the network effect of people I'm following would just bring to my attention any new interesting person that I would need to follow. I think now I got a well-organized setup that on a monthly basis I keep adding people to list in different areas, whether it's crypto or privacy, security, health, the health space that I'm really passionate about as well. So the reason why I'm saying that is for most experience, for most people on social media, especially in crypto Twitter, is you get you look at the For You tab of X, and they put you into a bubble. Meaning you start seeing the world in the eyes of like all the people that surround you are all sharing the same mindset, all sharing the same thing that you like. And so you miss out on what's happening outside of the bubble. And that was a good reminder for me being in Singapore, because you could see a lot of stands and companies and people shilling and promoting their product services. It could be from auditing companies to people doing layer ones to doing hardware wallets. Across the entire space, you had a bunch of different players that are promoting the thing. And sometimes you just go around the conference rooms and spaces and corridors, and you discover a brand. Oh, some people are doing satellite blockchains just for redundancies, sent to space, right? Okay, let's talk to the founder. What is the vision, right? If you just trust the algorithm of X to discover this kind of cutting edge, where the world is going, you're gonna miss out. So from time to time, it's good to break away from technology because it has its limits, and just meet people in real life. Yeah, you learn a lot more. Yeah.
So we're about an hour into the conversation, hour and 15 minutes, but this is where I'm going to basically put my disclaimer. My disclaimer is I don't have any financial relationship with Steph whatsoever. He and I have been friends for many, many years. We're going to talk specifically about ULTI and basically the design thesis, why it was created the way that it's been created, what the timeline is as far as its release. But I don't have any horse in this game. I'm not participating in anything already. There's nothing that's pre-done. I am curious about how this will launch out. I'm curious about like his design philosophy and his is basically his participation. He had said something earlier about liquidity, how the initial liquidity is going to be put out there. And when anybody develops any kind of protocol in the crypto space, I look at it with an eye of cynicism to a degree, to a strong degree. One is, if someone is coming and asking for money, they're asking for participation, they're asking for funding, very similar to an ICO, but they don't have their own mortgage. They haven't mortgaged their house. They didn't sell their car. They basically are living relatively high on the hog, but asking other people to be at risk. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So like, I am curious about the design philosophy. I'm curious about how this is basically going to roll out. I'm curious about the investments that he's already made into security or audits and things like that. So we are going to talk about ULTI specifically. But again, just to confirm stuff, you and I don't have any financial relationship or anything along those lines.
No, we've been meeting each other a few times over the years, I think 3-4 years really, and we spent some time in different places in Europe, in Asia, having a very good time and just building just natural what humans are good to do. Is when you meet someone that shares values, you tend just to catch up with them from time to time. Say, hey, I'm here. Can we meet up? Can we catch up? How are you doing? And yeah, recently, because we met in Singapore, I asked you, would you be willing to share with audiences? There's no pressure, no. I'm just asking people, is that of interest for you? And if you think it's cool, maybe your audience would want to know about it. Yes. First of all, so we don't have that financial relationship established. I am the model of ULTI. Start with the ethos, the ethics of the project, because I wanted something that anyone in the world would want to use. And so if I could be corrupted in any fashion with regard to developing the project or maintaining the project, that would defeat the purpose of selling it to the masses. There's nothing more appealing if you're using a tool for freedom. There's nothing more appealing. That's my thesis. I can be proven wrong, but I'm using the Uniswap / model, where Uniswap was the darling of the DeFi space when the VCs were not there, when they didn't have the token, when they didn't have the gatekeeping. So people love like tools of freedoms. As soon as humans start intervening in the middle, this is where things becoming dicey. If you give your money to someone, you expect them to do something, to buy your bike, to do something to protect you. It is possible. This model exists already. It's called Web 2. It's called the old space. In crypto, the beauty is you have tools to minimize the trust that people have into humans to the very minimum, to the non-existing. Humans could not even be in front of you. That would not matter. And so that's the ethos of ULTI, giving something for everyone that is pure DeFi, no VC, no founder allocation, no admin keys, no surprises. If you read the white paper, I went in length into imagining all the different strategic plays that could be happening for the early participant of the protocol, short term, mid term, and even long term. And I dare to point out to any other white paper that goes into such lengths about explaining how the game could be played. So it's not only the rules, is how different players may play the rules. So across the board, whether it's the ethics of the protocol, the way it's presented to the world, the way I have skin in the game, to your point you were mentioning earlier, very rare. I'm already net negative in the project, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, not even counting the hours. And my hours would, if I get to do some consulting or being billed, that would be the high price, given my current knowledge. So yes, across the board, I wanted to set the standards higher than what exists in the market. If DeFi, pure DeFi existed, I would not have spent the time creating it. I would be relaxing, right? But sometimes when you want something that doesn't exist on the market and nobody's building it, or people make promises, or they said they would do A and they do Y and they do B, when they're massaging the message, where they're finessing people into believing something and then changing things at the last minute. Once you're bored and fed up with the lies and the gaslighting, you start saying, well, I've got the skills. I've done it before. My career has been full of successes about releasing products to millions of people. I can do it again.
Great message. Again, so I appreciate you being transparent about that. And can you clarify again? Many times a protocol, like you said, you have a skill set. Many years of experience as a technologist. Obviously successful in a career where you're employed as a person where you launch your own products and you do your own businesses. I've seen you perform quite well. Can you comment about that? There hasn't been a VC or anything other than your own time, your own resources to develop this product to its current stage and to basically go through the audits. I know that security is very high priority for you. So can you comment a little bit about where it sits at today and then timeline as far as like public release of the protocol?
Yes. So again, I coined the term. This is pure DeFi. No VCs, no admin keys. And it goes beyond that. When I say pure, it's really, you need to read the white paper. Everything should be laid out there. The deepest I could go, the deepest, like if I had to play the game and start writing strategy about how to play it, I need to share that. I need to share that ahead of time to people. That's the approach I have taken. There's not going to be surprises even in the intention of the design and the way it could be played. There's no VCs that have been approaching me. That's a passion project. I was actually in stealth mode for more than 2 years. I started working actively on it at the end of my last project. So it was February of this year. Starting looking actively on it and announcing it in September, a month ago, making more public announcement about it, and 2 weeks ago releasing the white paper. So there's no VCs. I'm the only one in the team. The team is one person. I'm lucky enough to come at the time where AI tools help me a lot, doing a lot of things I could not do by myself. So my productivity has been increased to a level where I can do a lot of things by myself. So, and I haven't been offered, but I would not take any money from anyone right now. It has been costing me mostly a lot of money, namely the infrastructure, the branding. The domain name was not cheap to acquire. You can imagine, even for .org, because it was already taken by someone else. So I had to negotiate heavy for getting that down. Security is very pricey. I'm currently finishing the 5th audit, and the average price for audits it varies between for the cheapest 10K to the most expensive 50K, with an average of 30K. So do the math, right? So so in total right now I may be already in the red on that project, minus 150K. So I've got skin in the game. And I'm making the promise that, it's encoded actually into the smart contract that upon launch, there's a founder giveaway where I'm going to be seeding and giving away 33, at the minimum, 33 ETH of my own money to provide liquidity. That number is just a minimum. That doesn't mean that I may not add more. I'm doing a competitive testing starting either tomorrow or if we're late, the day after, where I'm giving away a bounty of $33,000. So at some point, you need just to look at the action of a man that is putting his time, his sweat, his effort into building something that doesn't exist, something that is unique, something that is for everyone. And he believes in it so much that he's willing to lose money on it.
Very interesting. So again, I put on during you had commented about the white paper. They can find your commentary and the white paper directly. I believe it is. Did you say it's ulti.org? What is the website for?
Yes, ULTI.org, and /learn if you want to access the white paper specifically.
And then also I had put on page, but I'll put it here again. I like Silver. He's made content for many years across different communities. His 4 or 5 part series is on his YouTube channel. Again, I'm not really covering white paper or elements specifically. The things that were interesting were the ideas of referral systems. I know that one of the things that launched Hex in its origin was a referral system that's basically rewarding more of the same token or something along those lines for Hex specifically on referrals. Can you comment on the design theory and how ULTI in your estimation may be different in its growth pattern as far as like logarithmic growth?
Yeah, sorry. So referral system have been around for decades. Most successful businesses have in their marketing budget a piece of their budget for doing referrals. What are referrals really? Is boosting the word of mouth that people do naturally. When someone likes the product, like a movie, like a restaurant, humans tend to share. We are social. We tend to share with others. If you not only like something, but you're incentivizing, nudged, just to go over the limit, say, hey, okay, I can get a little kickback for it. So it works really well. There's no issue with referrals. Two-way referrals are really good because they incentivize both the person being referred and the referrer just to come together and use the product. They can even talk about it and follow up with it. In the context of crypto, it's even better because in a sense, if you're making money with your buddies, you can have you have parties or discussion about how well the protocol is doing. So referrals work really well. They've worked really well for other projects in the past in crypto. And not too many, surprisingly, not too many protocols are using this strategy to promote their protocol. And I know why. It's because of VC money. So the way it would work is people with a big brand and reputation of the largest funds and VCs in the space, they are their own way to do things, and they get invited and they have connections. They get invited to media, roadshow on big channels. It could be, Business Insider. It could be on Wall Street. They have all these different shows about money, and this is the way they access the masses by doing the advertised product this way. Because I'm just putting my own money. This is a passion project, an experiment for everyone. I needed to find a way just to market the product for itself. And one of the way, the way I want to use is referrals, a word of mouth, boosted word of mouth. And the smart contract is paying you very well for that. It's 33% the first cycle, so the first, roughly the first month. And then it goes down over time because I didn't want the contract to print too much inflation. But as a principle, the decentralized nature of what I'm doing is being reflected into the product, because the marketing team of ULTI are the user themselves. And if they don't bring any value to the ecosystem, the smart contract doesn't pay them. Has nothing to do about me. Has nothing to do with my actions. If people want or good at building protocol, right? They can build a protocol that deposits some ETH via the smart contract down to ULTI. The ULTI smart contract will give them the kickback. If you're good at doing online advertisements, running campaigns with Google ads, with Facebook ads, Meta ads, or others, now you have even crypto dedicated ads with Dex Screener, CoinMarketCap. If you're really good at these things, you're good with marketing and online, well, you can make a kickback as well. If you have a channel or you're a content creator and you want to talk about a product, the contract will pay you. So whoever is bringing capital directly or through the referrals will be graciously rewarded, not by me, by the contract.
It's an interesting, again, because it's smart contract based and because it's inflation award, based on performance or engagement or referral. I think that's interesting in and of itself. And again, that contributed a lot to the reasons why people made front ends or, different advertisements and things like that around the history that many of us have, which is Hex's origin story. So I think that's an interesting element to your particular product. So I think we're running a little bit long. This is about an hour and a half, but I do want to
add something about referral.
Yes.
Yeah, very quickly. There's two innovation with the differences with what people have seen before. The one I'm the most proud of is called the skin in the game feature, where you can only promote a project and be rewarded by it if you put your own capital at risk.
Yeah.
Right. This is very seems natural, but again, I don't know why either people are not creative or not think deeply enough about the protocols they built. But it's going to be a requirement. So what I'm creating now is really setting the bar that you're going to see these features emerging, even though ULTI maybe not be successful. People will use this feature in their product, and I will be proud of just having brought that to the market first. So skin in the game is like you put in, let's say an example, you put in 1 ETH, right? And you cannot get more than 10 ETH worth of referrals being dropped. So if you're sharing that with your audiences and you're not committed to the project, the contract will not pay you. You will actually lose, let money on the side. That would be very stupid for you not to actually add a little bit of money there just to collect the referrals. The second piece that people are not familiar with is the referral is it's an evergreen referral. So you're gonna be paid by the smart contract. It gets normalized to at year 3 to 3%. But basically, whoever you referred the account, they'll be attached to your account for life. So if you keep accumulating accounts and ULTI is successful and they keep depositing, doing strike bonuses and depositing month after month because they're incentivized by the protocol to do so, you're gonna collect that kickback for a very long term. So that creates very strong incentive for anyone, basically, whether you're a large influencer or a small influencer, sharing with your friends or sharing with millions, it doesn't matter. You can do very well if you share the protocol early, specifically.
Yeah, I think that was, I'm glad that you highlighted that because the skin in the game narrative has been important. Well, I've seen where there were links put out on different protocols and things like that, but you don't know if that person had any kind of skin in the game. They just were good at advertising or they were good at SEO to get their link basically clicked, right? That in some narratives, that's very good because it becomes prolific and it gets out there. And other sides is like, okay, well, there's people that profit without actually having skin in the game. So I think that's an interesting element that you added to your protocol. Let me kind of wrap up because I'm tight on time myself. I do want to put up on screen. I see that you have this ulti.org/learn. That was a link that goes to the domain that you control. And that information is more detail about, basically how ULTI is going to operate and when it launches. And then can you make comment about your timeline, what your thoughts are about completing audits and how much notice or information you'll be putting out before go live?
Yeah, so I've been spending a lot, I mentioned, in audit because I cannot afford, for my own sanity, for anything to go wrong. So we're looking at really about 3 weeks for the launch, but there's some caveats. The 2 audits have been completed. I got 3 that are just wrapping up right now. Some auditors have came up with some findings, and I changed recently some elements of the adjustment to the protocol as I'm discussing with people, as people are digesting the white paper. There's a lot of interesting feedback that comes left and right. So I made a couple of improvements recently to the protocol, making it simpler, more effective, more gas efficient. And so I will most likely go towards another round of audit, 2 extra audits with the top. There's no reason to work with the worst auditors. I want to go to, because they don't find as much anyway. So I will just again go towards another cycle of audits once I feel that the product is very final, which we are. Like right now, it's 99% final. Depending on their time and meaning if they have a lot of like project that they need to audit themselves and say, okay, we cannot take you this week, but we can start next week. Because they're already familiar with the protocol, that should be fairly straightforward. We're looking at only 500 lines of effective code. But yeah, we are looking at 3 weeks. Modulo. Granted that security is foolproof. I will not launch the protocol if I don't have the last security audit coming back pristine. Meaning we haven't found any major, high, medium issues. There's only like few information. Maybe you could. We're already really good right now, and the state of the contract is really, really clean. Has been cleaned up a lot. But because I made recent changes, I want to show that we are really, really, really confident that when it goes live, people can safely deposit their money. Myself, I'm dropping a lot of money into it. Family members that are interested, so I cannot afford for people around me, for people beyond me, to have people losing money. Definitely not. It's still experimental, and even with audits, there's no guarantee that things will work as expected. So I would advise for caution and going reasonably early on, and the more the day passes, the more confidence you have in that the protocol behaves the way it was intended to.
Those are important to highlight. And again, I'm going to wrap up here, but things to keep in note is, as far as my understanding is, these are speculative instruments. Every single smart contract can have the best design. It can pass every single audit. It can have the best design intention. And still the market, whether it's in a cycle across all of the crypto industries or one particular blockchains, as far as the infrastructure underpinning a smart contract, these things can change because marketing and narrative, in my opinion, matter as much, if not more, than flawless execution of code. Flawless execution of code, with people nobody knows about it, will not have value in a marketplace. If many people know about something and it has flaw in it, then again, there's higher risk. Many people know, many people are participating, and you see issues like with bridges and other things like that in our crypto space. So this is not a declaration that things are perfect. They're as perfect as they can be in a technology realm, in my opinion, because again, what gives value is marketing and narrative as much, if not more, than protocol exclusively. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, both are actually feeding into one another. Having strong security is a marketing. I mean, you can use that as a marketing frame, in your marketing maybe mix. And if you invest too much on the technology, the concept, the security of it, you can spend years making something so clean, but you'll be the only one playing with it, and the world would have moved on. So there's always this tension about going to market and getting people excited at different time. The bull run it's great to launch now, but to answer your question in one word, my timeline for launch is security.
Yeah, security first. I saw this hashtag. So when let me put up people on screen where they can find specifically, I think that the one that you prefer is the 0x ULTI on X. This is a platform where you're probably going to distribute the most information. But again, you're the founder, just like there's responsibility. The foundation may do one thing, but ultimately Vitalik is the brand leader of Ethereum. Satoshi, anonymous guy, Charles Hoskinson, these are all people that are, again, representing their own product and their own content about their product. So, Steph has been willing to do that. I think he's a transparent person. You should do your own research, as with anything speculation, any speculative instrument, but you can find his content on X. And I think he's also, like you said, secured, other platforms, even though he may not be broadcasting on them as much. Any other wrap-up thoughts as we close down?
No, thank you for having me. I'm actually honored just to have yourself and a few other people that I've come across over the years to give me the chance to share ideas. I don't take that for granted. I respect people that spend the time and share their audience, the reputation and the capital that they acquired by themselves. So thanks again for having me, asking me great questions. And if you're interested in ULTI, just follow the account and turn on the notification at least for the next couple of weeks, because there's going to be a lot of updates, announcements for anyone interested.
That's great. So I'm going to bring you down off camera. I'll speak just for a moment and then close the show, but stay in the green room and we'll talk just a little bit more. Thanks again for joining in.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. All right, guys. Again, I'm trying to make as many disclaimers as possible. This has been very enlightening for me. I hope it has been for you as well. I think that the wisest thing is to take as much information in as possible and make your own decisions about what you participate in. Whether it's in the financial world, you need to know about mutual funds. You need to know about treasury bonds. You need to know about stocks. You need to do your own research, because at the end of the day, it is your capital that's at risk, whether it's brand capital or fiat resource and things like that. It's the same thing to me in crypto space. You can have the best intentions, you got the best designer, the best foundation, the best protocol, the best audits. You can have all of those things, and still the market will decide its valuation. So keep that in mind. Do your own research. These are not financial advisements of any sort. I do respect a lot that as a founder, as a protocol designer, and all of the effort that Steph has made towards security audits and making that information transparent to participants. I think that's notable, and it's fairly rare in the crypto space. So I appreciate him coming on today. Just again to clarify that I will be going to the, or not clarify, but to reiterate, I will be going to the Patrick Bet-David event, the Valuetainment event in Florida. It's in Fort Lauderdale on the 5th of November. The event will occur from 6 p.m., I think is the opening, until probably about 2 or 3 in the morning. So if you know people that will be in the Florida area, if you know people that are interested in the Valuetainment content or association or affiliation with Patrick Bet-David's brand, let me know. I'll try to make network connection there. I think he's going to have a hard cap of 2,000 people attending. Right now, as far as I understand, there's been a sale of about 1,000 tickets, and they're all different spectrum of participants. Some are there for politics, of course. Some are there because they're entrepreneurs of different sorts, and they want to either be supported by the brand or affiliated with the brand that PBD is putting out there. So feel free to reach out to me specifically about that event. That's the next thing I'll be attending. My intention over the remainder of 2024 is, again, I do not want to be a YouTuber or a content creator. I prefer in real life relationship development and networking in real life events. So if you know something that aggregates wealthy people or influential people, if you know something along those lines and it's interesting anywhere in the world, then I may attend. So let me know about that. Again, thing most recently that I enjoyed was the 2049 token event. So I do plan to go to the one that's in Dubai, I think in March. Otherwise, let me know what kind of support I can offer. If you're a notable person, if you have some kind of brand or influence or product or something along those lines, then reach out to me and I'll consider it on a case-by-case basis. With that said, I'm going to close down and let's just do a little video goodbye. Where am I at here? Let's try just with the PBD thing. Thanks, guys. See you.